Okay, y'all, how you doing? We back with another episode of Rob Knows with Sister Tasha, and today we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs and the upcoming NFL season. Tune in because it may be a little bit interesting. Sister, cue the music.
Diesel on the beat.
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up, people? Yo, Rob and Tasha, we're back.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir. Listen, people, we are back. We have been having, well, not necessarily life situation, but Rob started a new job. I started a new job. But we are dedicated and we're rocking this out to we gonna run on and see what the end gonna be. So we are back. We are back. And so we just welcome you all. Like Rob said in the beginning, we are gonna be talking about the NFL. I mean the NBA
Final.
playoffs, finals, and the what
Upcoming
else did we talk
NFL
about?
season. Upcoming
Upcoming
NFL
NFL
season.
season.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, Rob. So I'm gonna let you kick it off because, in all honesty, I haven't really been. This new job had me pulled up.
Right, right, right,
I got
right.
to learn a whole new, you know,
hmm Well,
system.
before we get started, we just want to remind everybody, to smash the like button
For
and
sure.
share the videos, um, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And
Yes.
you can follow us on all our social media sites. We're on Instagram and Buzzspot, and we're on Spotify. If YouTube, there's so many different ways that you can
iHeartRadio. If you want to listen, if you
buy.
can't watch.
Yeah, I mean, so many different ways for you to, tune in and be informed, and you know, we'd appreciate it. Like I said, leave your likes and your comments, and we'll certainly address it. Everybody has an opinion. And that being said, you know, uh, we're gonna talk about. I want to just reach out and talk about this NBA season, these NBA playoffs that just went through. Now, oh, listen, y'all, listen. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, you know, I caught a lot of flack. I caught a lot all over social media about my picks and the teams that I said were going to do what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. And understand, I get a fan, but I keep the show called Rob Knows for a reason. You know what I mean? Because not only am I a fan of sports, I'm a sports almanac. And what people need to realize before I get into the grinding you up, what you need to realize is that I don't just look at and listen to media outlets before I say things or I pick teams or anything like that. I study. This is the part y'all don't understand. Even at work, I study. I study teams' weaknesses and strengths. I study their tendencies. I study what kind where they shoot from, how they play on the road, what's their road record. I study a lot of different things. I study injuries and how it's going to affect the outcome of a game. I study these things. And this is how I come up with who I think is going to advance and play for a championship. Now, I'm a Sixers fan, despite a lot of what people who've been coming at my neck on the social media outlets think. I am a Philadelphia sports fan,
Mhm.
but when I look at our team as a whole, I always look at it as how good are we at competing for a title? And I look at the other teams that we're going to be competing against, and I look at it and I run the numbers and I check histories and player tendencies and injuries and everything plays a part in it. And then I come up with a decision. I would have loved to say that the Philadelphia 76ers had a chance to go to the NBA Finals, but they didn't. I told everyone on this forum that the Miami Heat would beat them in 6 games, and they did.
You did.
Right? And I told everyone on this forum that my picks to make it to the NBA Finals were the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics.
Roll the tape back.
And right now, in the NBA Finals are the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. And it's like, okay, wow, how'd you come up with that? Actually, if you go look back, I predicted every team in every round just about what game they would win, and then who would win that round. I picked the Dallas Mavericks to knock off the number 1 seed, the Phoenix Suns. I picked that, only because you can say what you want, love them or like them. Chris Paul is another James Harden. He has never, ever produced or came out of in a big game situation. Even when he made the finals last year, they had the more talented team, but the Milwaukee Bucks had the more resilient team. So, when you look at me and you listen to me and you say, oh, you're not no real fan. No, it's you out there who continuously decide to pick with your heart instead of with your head. You know what I mean? That's really not like Taj. You just don't, sister. You don't know how many debates I've had over social media outlets over my comments or the things that I say about, my selections for sports and who's going to make what and who's going to do what. And it's like,
I only see a few.
Well, yeah, because sometimes I get attacked on. I get attacked in my DM. You know what I'm saying?
But you gotta watch out for those people. They don't want to argue with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Out in front because they know you're right. They know
exactly.
what you're saying is
you know what I'm saying?
Some validity to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they attack me on that. And it's like I go back and forth with certain people, and it's like, bruh. And then when I'm right, my line go quiet.
You don't hear nothing.
Don't nobody say nothing. Then all of a sudden they moving on. I ain't got time for that. I got a life and a family. Well, you had time for it during the whole series. You made sure whenever the team you like won a game, you just, oh my God, you just flooded me with memes and statistical facts, and you just flooded me with all of these things. And then when they lost, when the Sixers, when they lost, it was like, oh my God, I hear crickets. I had to ask one person, I said, are you okay? Because like, I ain't heard from you. You know what I mean? I want to make sure everything all right.
Right.
You know what I mean? But, that's past. Congratulations to the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors for making it to the NBA Finals. And I believe that those two would make it because out of all the teams in the playoffs this year, they had the 2 most loaded, talented teams. Okay. Now, sometimes during the course of the playoffs, they didn't play like they did, but sometimes when you know you have the talent, you tend to not put that forward. Somebody on our team is going to step up. And then when they don't step up, next thing you know, you're down 20. Like, the Golden State Warriors actually had a game in the last round, in the second round, where they got beat by like almost 50 points. That's never happened. But they're a championship team. They have a championship pedigree. They have a championship coach. Their coach played with Michael Jordan in the 90s, and he won 3 titles with um, the Chicago Bulls. And then he
Okay.
also won 3 titles as a coach. So he has a championship pedigree. And I looked at the teams in the West, and some of them were facing, like they were injured at certain positions, or they just didn't have the playoff experience to go against a team and a coach who had plenty of it.
Right.
So there was really nobody else other than if the Phoenix Suns would have made it, there was nobody else in the West that was going to challenge them to make it to the finals. Now, like I said, I did pick the Dallas Mavericks to beat the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns were the best team in the NBA all season. But listen, if you haven't heard of him, I know you probably haven't, sister, but it's this young guy in the league. His name is Luka Doncic. Okay?
Yeah, you never heard of him.
24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He's a white NBA player. Okay? It's like a rebirth of Larry Bird.
Wow.
Okay. I've watched this young guy, 23, 24 years old, 22, when he first came into the league. He has torched every superstar player, because sometimes when you get a young guy, it happened to Michael Jordan, it happened to LeBron James. When you get a player who is at a young age, head and above, shoulders above everyone else, other superstars in the league, when they face him, say, "Hey, I got him." It happened to Mike. When Mike came in the league, right? Larry Bird and Michael and Magic Johnson and all the other stars in the NBA, when Mike got on their court, right? Move, I got him. And they found out, no, he got me.
Right.
You feel me? It happened with LeBron, and then now it's this boy Luka Doncic. And going up against Phoenix. Phoenix tried to guard him with everybody they could. They already knew their guards were too small to guard him because he's a guard and he's 6'7". He's 6'7", and he's about 240 pounds. Okay, so he's not no lightweight. You're not going to bully him. But I've watched him torch every from Kawhi Leonard to Draymond Green to Steph Curry to LeBron James, you name it. If they stood in front of him, he did something horrible to him. Wow. You feel me? So I realized that, and one player can jump in and shock you. That's why I picked them to beat the Phoenix Suns. And I picked them to beat the Phoenix Suns in 7 games. They beat the Phoenix Suns in 7 games. It was a shocker. And most people told me I was crazy on social media. You crazy. You crazy. Dallas Mavericks ain't going to beat the Phoenix Suns. Once again, when that series was over, timeline went quiet. Mm-hmm. But I knew they didn't have Luka Doncic alone wasn't going to be enough to beat the Golden State Warriors. And then in the Eastern Conference, it was sort of a toss-up. I thought Milwaukee could make it back to the finals again. But then one of their stars, Chris Middleton, got hurt. And it left Giannis Antetokounmpo to try to carry a team by himself. He couldn't do it. The same thing, and I told some people on social media also that the Miami Heat were the least talented team left in the playoffs. What do you mean? They went to the finals a couple years ago. They went to the finals because of resiliency. They were hard-nosed. They were a throwback to the 80s and 90s. Hard-nosed, physical, borderline, we about to fight type of physical team. And but when you face a team that has more skilled players, that's why the Miami Heat was a missed 3-point jump shot from a wide open from Jimmy Butler from going back to the finals. He missed this. It was a great game. If you didn't see the game 7, you know what I'm saying, against the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat, it was a great game. Okay. It was a great game. With less than 3 minutes left in the game, the Boston Celtics were up 13 points. And when it was only 22 seconds left in the game. They were only up 2 points. And so he stole the ball, and Jimmy Butler stole the ball off a rebound. He got the ball off a rebound. He drove the length of the court. Now, in a 2-game span, in Game 6 and Game 7 alone, this man had scored 82 points. He scored 47 points in Game 2. He had 35 points up until that point. And he drove down the court, and he stopped for a pull-up three. Clear, nobody in his face, not a hand. He just missed it. But he also played the entire game. He never came off the court.
And he was tired? Like, you think he was...
you do lose your legs.
Right.
But, I mean, he had once again, he had scored. He was at 35 points, and his teammates picked him up because when they came back from the deficit, he had no part in that. He didn't even touch the ball. You feel what I'm saying? Okay. His teammates brought that back. So they knew that him being on the floor for 48 minutes is a psychological thing. If you remember, Allen Iverson and the Sixers would play a Game 7 many a times when they made their run to the finals. And Allen Iverson would stay on the court for 48 minutes. But there were times when Allen Iverson didn't have nothing to do with a certain push or run. It's just the fact that he's on the floor because they said the anticipation of death is worse than death itself. So if he's on the floor and you have that anticipation of death, you still got to play him. You feel me? So this is why they left Jimmy Butler on the floor for 48 minutes. But it was a great game. I seen some stars, some young stars that emerged in the NBA, like Jason Tatum and a Jaylen Brown, and just an honorary mention. I want everybody to know, because I know y'all saw what I saw. Marcus Smart almost single-handedly lost that game. Marcus Smart is the reason Miami got to come back, because he started playing what you call hero ball. He wanted to be the star of the show. And he missed out of the final 7 shots they took. Marcus Smart took 5 of them and took 7 of them and missed 5 of them. He almost single-handedly helped to form probably one of the greatest collapses in the fourth quarter of a game. You know what I'm saying? In years in the NBA, single-handedly. So, but there's some young stars going on. Props to Jimmy Butler. He's a hell of a basketball player. He said after they beat the Sixers, he said, y'all chose Tobias Harrison over me because Jimmy Butler was on the Sixers. Okay? The Sixers decided to give Tobias Harrison a $100 million contract and let Jimmy Butler go to the Miami Heat. Okay? Tobias Harrison compared to Jimmy Butler is like you got LeBron James and you was like, nah, I want Paul George. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, come on, bro. You took Paul over LeBron. But
that seems how it goes with Philly teams.
I told somebody this because they said to me, all they wanted to do was see. They said in their 40 years of life, right? They said they've only seen one parade in Philly, right? Well, 2. Well, 1 because I guess they don't follow it because we've had in the last 20 years, we've had a parade for the Phillies. They won the World Series in 2008.
Right. And
then we had a parade in 2017 for the Eagles when they won their only Super Bowl.
Right.
So, he said, I've never seen the Sixers win an NBA title. And I told, I got to see it once. We went to one parade, 1983.
83, yep.
And I said to him, I said, bro, don't get it twisted. I would love nothing more than to go to another championship parade.
Of course.
I was like, I said, but you can't let those wants, you can't let those wants cloud your judgment.
Right, about what's going on and what's really happening here.
You know what I mean? I was like, you can't do that. And I said, just because you want it, you're not going to will it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just said, sister, Philly teams have done this. You were too young to remember, but there was one. Philadelphia will get one great player to put butts in the seat, and they will put nothing around that great player. Now, when I was younger, and I'm talking about from like the 70s when Dr. J first came, the late 70s when he first came to the Sixers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Sixers were always in contention for competing for an NBA title. We legitimately had our 1983 team was loaded with talent. Dr. J and Mo Cheeks and Andrew Toney and Bobby Jones and the big man, God rest his soul, number 2, Moses Malone, right? 4-4-4, right? And I told him, I said, but before that happened, the owner of the Sixers was considering trading Julius Erving.
What?
Think about this. There was a time when he didn't trade Julius because the fans in Philly said we will boycott every Sixers game if you trade the doctor.
I'm sure that was crazy.
If there was one person you couldn't, he was Philly.
Yes.
But I'm trying to give you the insight of an organization. Okay, we got a Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was all he ever screamed at this organization was, "Get me more help."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Get me more help or get me out of here." So they said, "Okay, we'll get you out of here." And they're so see, for Philly, it's just about making money.
Money, right? That's what I was getting ready to say.
For the Sixers, it's just about you look at some of the other teams who bring in these kind of players. The teams that are winning and competing for titles, right? Mm-hmm. They bringing in 3 and 4 superstar players. The Sixers organization for years have been, after that championship, has been satisfied with just bringing in a seat filler. Everybody would show up at the Spectrum, because it was the Spectrum back then.
Spectrum at the time, yeah.
To watch Charles Barkley. So Charles Barkley gave them an ultimatum. They got him out of there. And we sucked as an organization for years until, now mind you, one year they drafted Jerry. They drafted, well, nobody. It was, we sucked for, we sucked for a few years. Okay? We weren't even in playoff contention, more or less.
Yeah.
So then the Sixers, they fell into the ill-fated lottery pick. So one year they chose Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse was a monster in college.
I know that name.
He wound up coming into the pros and had a good career. But the very next year, they drafted Allen Iverson. So now you have the beginning and the making of a nucleus of a great team.
Right.
But they then decided, after Allen Iverson and Stackhouse played together for about a half a year or whatever, they traded Jerry Stackhouse.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, we got this young bull, Allen Iverson, and don't get it twisted. People only came to see the Sixers play to watch AI.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so then they they watched Allen Iverson take a team full of either has-been players or not very skilled players, and he took us all the way to the NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. And Allen Iverson's whole thing was, we need a couple more shooters. Surround me with a couple more shooters. He got disenchanted with the franchise's ability to bring in better players. They would blame it on Allen Iverson. Nobody wants to play with him because he hogs the ball. He hogs the ball because he ain't got nobody else to share it with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So what did they do? Shipped him out. You feel me? Now let's bring it back to Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler wanted to stay in Philly. He said, I would have loved to play with Joel Embiid. But he is a top 10 player in the league. It's going to cost you a little bit.
But you know what, brother, skipping in between Allen Iverson and the guy Butler. So, then I think it was Lou Williams was on the team.
Lou Williams was a B player at most.
No, but wait, but I'm just saying well, like you said, they want to get the name to put the people in the seats.
Yeah.
But at the time, Bobby was dancing for the Philadelphia Mini 76ers. And I remember, and I used to go to the games, and I would be like, it wasn't packed like it's normally, like you say, if an AI was on the team. But I was telling people, and I'm like, yo, they got a pretty good team. I said they doing pretty good. It was Lou Williams. It was I forget. All I can remember his last name, Evans. I can't even think of his name. But I used to know a couple of the guys, because of course Bobby was dancing for the Sixers, so I was like, going to the games and I was into it. But it was like you could see that they was getting this momentum, and I was telling people, y'all slipping on the Sixers. I know y'all, whatever. Y'all slipping on the Sixers, and then like every couple of months, like you would see more people come. It was because they had this momentum going. And the fans were starting to come out to the games because they were playing pretty good. And then next thing you know,
well, even what that is.
They dispersed that little, even though you might consider them B players. You know what I mean? They were doing good.
Well, once again, it's where I look at sports. Good as they were doing, and I remember the time frame that you were talking about. I remember that.
Sure you do.
But during that time, they still, at best, they were going to be the 8th seed in the playoffs.
Okay.
Which means they were going to barely make it, 7 or 8, right? So at best, that was all that team was going to do. This is why it was imploded. They played hard, right? I love the way they played. They played hard, but when you're asking, when you're looking at it and you're saying, hey, we can compete for a title. No, we can't. Because that, as hard as they're played, they were going to be a 7 or 8 seed if they made the playoffs at best.
I get it.
So,
at the time, somebody new had came in and they revamped everything. They took the dancers away. Remember, because Bobby, they took the dancers away. They took
that's my point.
Yeah.
They just this organization just wants to put butts, bodies, in seats. Other than try to build a championship team. All of this money that you spent, that you're going to give James Harden over the next year or two, right? If you'd have let's say they'd have kept Jimmy Butler and let Tobias Harrison go to Miami or anywhere else, and then bring in a James Harden. You understand what I'm saying? Now you have because right at this point we have the premier center in the league in Joel Embiid. Premier center. So now you couple him with a guy like Jimmy Butler. And listen, let's keep it together. It's going to cost you a couple dollars, but keep it together for 2 or 3 years. We may have a parade.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's with Philadelphia and their organizations. I always, even when in football, I always look at it like, yo, how these other teams, like, I look at what the LA Rams did, and a lot of people, they crazy, they this. But the LA Rams was like, damn that, we're going to bring in enough stars, players, high-quality players, I don't care what it costs, even if for a year or two, because the whole goal is to compete for titles. championships. It's not to make the playoffs. It's not to have a good regular season. The whole goal in any professional sports is to compete for titles. So I don't care, and I'm talking to these people directly that's always coming at me on social media. I don't care who you like.
Yeah.
The whole goal, the reason they pay professional athletes millions and millions of dollars is to win championships, not to have great regular seasons, not to make it to the playoffs and lose, but to win championships. And if you look at your team in any other light, then you just as foolish as the organizations are.
Right, because you liking them ain't gonna make them win games.
Because they're your favorite player play on your team, or your favorite. You have to look at your team at where their strengths and weaknesses are compared to the strengths and weaknesses of other teams. Mm-hmm. And if their weaknesses are more deficient than another team's weaknesses, chances are they're not going to make it. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I called these NBA playoffs. I told y'all who was going to make the NBA finals. You didn't believe me. Whoop, there it is.
If you don't know, now you know.
My sister always said, I said what I said. So, sister, let's take a little break, come back in 30 seconds, and we'll discuss the upcoming NFL season. Peace.
Hey, and we're back.
All right,
so before we get into this NFL topic, we want to just remind you to please go like, share, subscribe. You can follow us on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can listen to us if you can't watch us. You can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and we're on Buzzsprout. And we're working on a few things. So yeah, make sure you do that. Share with all your family and friends. We will really appreciate it. And thanks in advance for following us and doing all of those things to keep us to keep our faces out there, okay? All right, so we're gonna get into this NFL topic. Brother, what you got?
Okay.
When you grow, so what you gonna do?
Hey, listen. For the first time since 2017 season, I'm excited about the upcoming season. I'm excited because of the effusion of talent that has been put into our home team. Right. I've been watching almost daily. I check. Almost daily, I check. I watch OTAs. I watch mini camps. I watch all of this, and just jumping out the gate right now, jumping out the plane without a parachute. The Eagles will win the NFC East this year.
Okay.
The Eagles will win the NFC East this year, and now Super Bowl, I ain't going crazy.
Right.
They will win the NFC East, and they'll make the playoffs. Why do I say that? Well, the Dallas Cowboys have lost. I will give Jerry Jones this. He put together a team, but he never put together the coaching to go with that team of talented players he had. Now, a majority of those players are either gone or they're past their prime. I love Ezekiel Elliott. I love him so much. I wanted to buy his jersey, but something in me, I can't wear no Cowboys jersey. I can't do it. If I put on a Cowboy jersey, my grandfather would roll over in his grave.
You would burn up. You would just ignite.
Yeah, I can't do it. but he's past his prime. He's not the player he was 3 years ago. Dak Prescott, quarterbacks tend to have a longer shelf life, but I always tell people it's the reason he was a third round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if he was as great a quarterback as people, but profess him to be, he'd have been a first or second round pick. He was a third round pick, which means when you pick a quarterback in the third round, you're kind of waiting for him to develop into a great backup. Now, Russell Wilson was a third round pick. You know what I'm saying? But his athleticism and the fact that he went to a team that was already had a great defense, you understand what I'm saying? Allowed him to flourish. So, but from what they lost and what the Eagles gained, talent-wise, even with these young players, the Eagles have upgraded every part that I said they needed to upgrade. They've upgraded their secondary. They've upgraded. This young guy they got, Nakobe Dean, was at Georgia. Now, understand, Georgia had 15 players on their team drafted in the first 2 or 3 rounds. Okay? That is unprecedented. Never happened before from one college. This young guy that we picked up, Nakobe Dean, tore his Achilles in Georgia's title run last year. Out of all of the great defensive players that was on this team, he was the top dog. Okay? Nakobe Dean was the top dog on that defense, but he tore his Achilles. That's why he dropped down to the third round. The Eagles got a steal. Let me say this, and this is high praise, and I don't know if this young man is going to turn into this, but this young man has a Ray Lewis type of game at middle linebacker. And whatever, and then think about this. His teammate and one of his best friends, that's the young boy, Jordan Davis, the big young boy that they picked.
Right.
They best friends.
Oh, okay.
And they're going to get to play together. He's going to play right behind him. Okay? So the talent that the Eagles have picked up and the upgrades that they have upgraded at cornerback, they have upgraded at linebacker, they have upgraded where their strength of their team was the defensive line, and they've already added to that. Right? Then they, on the offensive side of the ball, they went and got a young, and I'll say, if you think about all the receivers in the league, he's a top 10 receiver, A.J. Brown. Some people may argue not top 10, top 15. He's not a top 5, but top 10, but he's only 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The only deficiency I see is our running game. They didn't address it by drafting a back to go. Miles Sanders is a good back, but he's getting to the point where he's getting injured. He don't play all, he always missing a game, 2 games, whatever.
Right.
But with Jalen Hurts and his ability to move around and scramble, it makes up for that. A lot of people say, oh, well, the Eagles had the number 1 rushing attack in the league last year. They did, but I can't count that when your quarterback is the one who pushed you over that edge. You know what I'm saying? If your quarterback, just like with Lamar Jackson, you know what I'm saying? Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, you can have the number 1 rushing team. Oh, yeah, they rush for 240 yards a game. But if your quarterback is rushing for 110 of those yards, then what are your running backs doing? Because you pay them to be running backs. You feel me? So, the Washington Commanders, they are what they are. They unfortunate they got Carson Wentz starting, so I ain't even afraid of that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I ain't even, that's all I got to say about it. For all you Washington football fans, we got a lot of family members live down there. You got Carson Wentz as your quarterback. So as long as Carson Wentz is still quarterback in the Commanders, as long as Dak Prescott is still the quarterback of the Cowboys, and as long as Daniel Jones is still the quarterback of the New York Giants, The Philadelphia Eagles will win the NFC East, hands down. They will win the. They will win the NFC East. They're going to shock a lot of people. Our defense is going to. Our defense is going to go back to being the defense system that me and you were used to seeing when we were little. Not the Reggie White defense.
Right.
Not the Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Seth Joyner, Andre. Not them. That's a whole nother
beast.
Yeah, that's a monster. That's a monster right there.
I know about that defense.
But I'm talking about the defense that we had when Donovan was young in his career, early 2000s, when we were going to NFC Championship game after NFC Championship game after
I think like 4 or 5 times in the row, right in a row. Yeah,
that defense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
So, and the way that the NFC East is set up now, with that kind of defense, because it's what got Los Angeles to where they are. You understand? Their defense. It's that defensive presence up front with Aaron Donald, and then they had Von Miller, and then they had Floyd Little, and then they got Jalen Ramsey. They at every level. That's how you build a successful defense. You need I always tell when I coached. I used to tell Raymond and Noodles, God bless his soul. I used to tell them, if you want me to be the defensive coordinator, I need 3 things. I said, I need 2 beasts and 1 monster. He's like, what? I said, I need 2 beasts and I need 1 monster. I need 2 beasts that can win at every level, every position. He can win at his position. And then I need that 1 monster that can just win all over the field. I can put him anywhere. I can send him on a blitz. I can put him in run stop and he can cover. I need a big hit. I need that ball. I need you to jar it loose. That's what my monster do. So far, it seemed like the Eagles, on their draft, and they done went out, they got about 3 or 4 beasts and a potential 2 monsters. Just on the defensive side.
Have that open practice camp?
They always will have 1.
Let's try to get there.
Yeah, maybe we can go there and maybe interview a couple of other players.
You know, I Bogart. I'm like, we got to talk to you for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we come down there with a camera, just like everybody else, and tell them we trying to get it for but we'll talk about that. That'll be something good. That, most of them young guys, they like the camera.
Yeah, we need to branch out.
Yeah, so we can do that, and but the season this upcoming NFL season, I think. There is so much intrigue. Everybody is on the AFC West. So many teams professional sports is a copycat league. So the Rams went out last year and they essentially bought a Super Bowl. They went out and they bought all of these star players in at different positions and they won a Super Bowl. And then, so now you have teams, these star players are now mercenaries. They're on 1-year deals. They making $40 million. They're saying, hey, I'll come play for you. The Buffalo Bills were already a stacked team. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then they went out and they got a Von Miller. Right? Von Miller just helped the Los Angeles Rams win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So then you add him. And then you had the Raiders did something, and then and understand these teams are in the Chargers, they do these because they have to be able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs has won their division 6 years in a row. All right, they've hosted 4 straight AFC Championship games. They've been to 2 Super Bowls. You feel me? So this has happened for them, because as much as you pack on, as much as people tried to pack on, the Kansas City Chiefs was still beating them. So then Tyreek Hill, who they call the cheetah. The bull is stupid fast. He probably can run faster than you can drive in your car.
They call him Cheetah?
They call him the Cheetah. They traded him. They traded him to the Miami Dolphins. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a very, very interesting NFL season coming up. This season coming up is basically it's a toss up. It's a toss up about who's going to come out on top. Because every year, when Tom Brady was playing in New England, every year you would say, okay, well, the New England Patriots are going to make it in the make it in the AFC.
Okay.
Who's going to make it?
Brother.
Yeah, who's
Made
going
me
to make it
nervous.
in? Who's going to make it in the NFC? But now Tom Brady plays in the NFC. Played with Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Mm.
Okay, he retired for about 35 days,
You
and
think
then
that
he
was
said,
game? Like, you think that was a
"No,
gimmick?
no. Listen, it's like I always told you, right? You have a lot of professional athletes in all areas of sports. We see it mainly in boxing, but it's rare you see it in football, right? And it's like watching the gladiators back in the days of the Colosseum, right? And you had gladiators, they used to have to fight and win so many fights and become a great gladiator, and then Caesar would grant them their freedom based on the fact that they were such great
Great.
warriors, and they survived so many battles inside the Colosseum that Caesar said, "Hey, you free. You can go and do." He gave them a wooden sword, and that wooden sword was how it was for blacks back in the day when they had freedom papers. That wooden sword was his freedom papers. In case he ran across soldiers or anything else to say slave, and he's like, "I'm not a slave, I'm a free man." Well, most of the time, those great gladiators returned to the Colosseum because they missed the roar of the crowd. They missed the chants going up into the heavens, Maximus, 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 right?
Right.
And
Right.
so Tom Brady is that warrior, right? He has done something that no quarterback has done in NFL history. He is a 7-time Super Bowl champion. The most Super Bowls any one quarterback ever won, and only two have ever did it, was Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana. They won 4 Super Bowls. Tom Brady has won. He's a 7-time Super Bowl champion. He's been to 10 Super Bowls.
Super Bowls. Now, the 7 rings that he won, what teams was he on the same?
6 was with the Patriots, and then 1 was with the year he left the Patriots. They let him leave. He went to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First year with the Buccaneers,
And he won.
he won a Super Bowl. So he's that warrior. He's that guy, right? And he's the one guy who there always has to be mystery in something, right? And so when we won our Super Bowl, how much sweeter was it that we beat Tom Brady and the Patriots? Was that sweet?
It was
Right?
sweet.
Oh, that was so sweet because it was against Maximus,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so now Maximus, he left. He said, I'm done. You know, he lost his last fight in the arena. Barely. He was this close to performing another one of his miracle comeback wins against the Los Angeles Rams. For as loaded as their team was, it took all of them to kill Maximus. And Maximus still almost came out victorious.
Yeah.
That close.
Real
That close. It wasn't even supposed to go to overtime.
Right.
Right? So he walked away and he talked to his wife and his kids. And as he laid in bed at night, he heard in his dreams, Maximus, 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 Maximus. And 35 days later, he told the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, "I'm back.
I'm coming back."
Here's
Is that ego?
this.
Is that ego? Is that
No,
ego?
it's a warrior. It's a warrior.
Okay.
Right? Who know that despite the young talent and all these young great quarterbacks that's there, they know, all of these young warriors want to fight Maximus. Right? Very few of them. Patrick Mahomes is, if Tom Brady is playing, I don't care who else is playing quarterback in the league. If Tom Brady is playing, he's an alpha dog. Underneath him is Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes has lost to Maximus. But he has beat Maximus too. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
So here's the real part the significant part a lot of people are not understanding. Maximus is 45 years old. You talking about listen. Some players, they had a player named George Blanda. George Blanda played, I think, until he was damn near 50. He was a quarterback, but in the end of his career, he was a field goal kicker. So it allowed him to elongate his career.
Right.
But so when you talk about a man, now understand this, at 44 years old, Tom Brady still led the league in passing, yards, and touchdowns. Okay? At 44, he had his best statistical year as a quarterback at 44. At 44. Wow. So, Drew Brees tried it. His body failed him. He couldn't do it. Right? So he had to retire last year, the year before last season started. His body physically, right before the playoffs that year, he got a hit and he broke like 7 of his ribs. And he never could come back from that. Peyton Manning tried it. And even though he won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos on his way out, he was a shell of who he was. Okay? You see other quarterbacks who their skills erode right in front of your eyes at a much younger age. So to look at what this man is doing and how he has preserved his body and the dedication he takes care of, he has what he eats, his workout regimen, everything that has allowed him to still at 44 years old remain in the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. And this is with guys that were in elementary school when he first started his career.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep.
Think about that. Tom Brady, this will be Tom Brady's 23rd year in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes only 25. Lamar Jackson's only 25. Josh Allen's only 25, 26. These guys were in elementary school when Tom Brady started this run. So they wasn't
even in elementary school, because if he'd been in the league for 23 years and they 25,
and 26, they wasn't even in kindergarten.
Yet.
So they done went through kindergarten, right? They done went through kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, little league football, high school football, college, and Tom Brady, Maximus, is still the greatest warrior in the arena.
That's crazy.
You feel what I'm saying?
That is crazy.
He is still the greatest warrior. So this is an intriguing. He made it. I told everybody, as much as I watched, the NBA Finals had a couple good series. The NBA playoffs had a couple good series in it. But the mystery was missing from it this year. You know who the mystery was? LeBron James. Because at this point in time, he sat at the top of the mountain. And if you could beat LeBron, you could go play for a title. And they sort of made it boring. It made it boring not from the play standpoint, but from the standpoint there was no mystery in it. Because any team that he plays on has a chance.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So it's the same way in the NFL with Tom Brady. If Tom Brady playing for you, you got a chance. And that's what makes those teams that he played for dangerous, because the players around him believe. When they were losing last year to the Los Angeles Rams, when they were losing, when they did the sound bites, and the defense sat on one guy on the defense, damn man, we down 16 points, and another guy was like, yo man, don't even worry about that. We got Tom Brady. We got 12 out there. And he was like, yeah, you right. That was their belief. And guess what? He brought them back and tied the game in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Brought them back and tied the game. It went into overtime. The Rams just never gave the ball back.
Yeah.
When you believe,
when you believe,
Exactly.
Miracles can
Exactly.
happen
Exactly. So,
that's for
and
sure.
what did Mama used to say? You only need the faith of the
The
size of a
size of a
mustard
mustard
seed,
seed.
right? And just for them, their mustard seed is Tom Brady.
Tom Brady,
So
unfortunately, but yeah, I get it.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? A
Yeah,
lot of
but
these
I
guys are
get it.
we just talking about sports. We're
Yeah,
not talking about religion,
religion,
just
right?
sports.
We just
And
using
if
religion as the,
right, but if
but
if you believe in a person that much to know that he's gonna win, he's gonna do it.
well, I mean that's, and then you know what? That's with anything in life too. Like if you believe, if you a leader and your team and they believe in you, and they gonna fight till the end. Like you
Exactly.
said, like, and you use Maximus as that
Mm-hmm.
example, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how it was in the movie. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? They was gonna
Mm-hmm.
fight and protect him by
Mm-hmm.
any means necessary.
Look, so they was willing to die.
Die for him. They was
They
willing
were
to
willing
die.
to die. And
Yes.
when you have a person, and normally that's a coach. Like I remember when I played for Leroy Keys, and a lot of you people out there who've never heard of Leroy Keys, is because you're probably too young. You're probably still swimming in your daddy big nuts. Leroy Keys was the second overall pick in the NFL draft. He was the second pick behind a running back named O.J. Simpson, and he used to be my football coach.
Coach Key.
And this man if he told me I had to run through 7 brick walls to get to the desired point, get our team to the point that I needed it to be at, I would have ran through 7 brick walls for this man without asking a question. You understand? And it was, it's something about a person when you look at them towards leadership. You can't talk out the side of your mouth. You got to be straight up with it.
Mm-hmm.
If he told me if you do this, it'll work, and I did it and it worked a couple times, I'm like, oh snap.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Here's one time, and this is just off the path at practice. He said to us, he said, I tell you what, let's go special teams. He said, I want all my fastest guys on special teams. He said, kick off the ball to me. I don't want no blockers, just me. He said, one of y'all even touch me. He said, you ain't gonna tackle me. He said, but if one of y'all two-hand touch me, we don't have to run gassers tonight. We looking at him like, Coach, you crazy. Because, we little young future ballers and shot callers. Yeah, okay, Coach. So we kicks the ball off to him. He started up the right side. We collapsed to the right side. He cut back to the left. And when I tell you, I ain't never seen a guy his age run that fast. And it was 11 of us. Not one of us. You talking about touch him? We didn't even get close to him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I saw him hit up the sidelines, I just ran down to the other goal line to start my gassers. They was like, yo, Nut, where you going? I was like, yo, man, I'm going out here and get these gassers in, bro.
Let me get him out the way.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but he showed me something. He showed me something. I don't know about everybody else, but as good as you are, as good as you think you are,
Right.
he was like, you ain't close to me. You ain't close to being as good as I was in my day. So at that point, I'm like, all right, then, Coach, that's what I want to be. I want to be like that. You know what I'm saying? So whatever he told me I had to do, and then Herman Edwards came out there. A lot of y'all don't know Herman Edwards. He used to play cornerback for the Eagles. He's the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. At once, he was the head coach of the New York Jets. He used to be my coach. And he used to tell me how I had to play because I played both ways on the defensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. His resume spoke for itself. Mm-hmm. He talk, I'ma listen.
That's right.
So I'm saying these things to go back to that. Whoever Tom Brady, whoever's on his team, if he talk, they gonna listen. If he lead, they gonna follow. Right. So that's why I said this is going to be an interesting season because a lot of teams have built up their teams to compete with the Rams and the Buccaneers type
And they
teams
slip
and
on the Eagles.
and I think listen to this. I watch a lot of shows. There's a lot of sportscasters out here and NFL analysts is not slipping. Now, whether people are paying attention, and I'm just talking about other teams around the league. Because you got to understand, we got a head coach this only his second year being a head coach. Okay. We got a young quarterback who this is only his third season, essentially just his second season as a full-time starter. Mm. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you may have other players around the league. That's why I told you the story about what he told us on the kickoff, right? You have other players around the league that may think that we way better than that. Mm-hmm. But it's some sportscasters and some NFL analysts out here that's telling people right now, don't sleep on these teams. Philadelphia Eagles being one of them. Yeah. Listen, it still has to come together. I don't care how it look on paper. It still has to come together. You can collect a team full of stars just like the Rams did, but it may not work. You understand? Because everybody has to buy in and not do their own thing. Here's the system we run. Can you run it? Are you effective in it? Yes, I'm willing to do it. That's why I told you about Coach Keys. They have to look at this young Nick Sirianni and say, all right, Coach, we down with that. Mm-hmm. He showed he's willing to adapt. His game plan and his scheme did not work in the first half of the season. It looked like we were going to finish like 3-14. But then he adjusted. He stopped trying to put everything on this Jalen Hurts plate, and he allowed it to happen naturally. And all of a sudden, he let him play. He let Jalen Hurts play to his strengths. He ran the ball more. Next thing you know, we made a run to the playoffs. So that's a good sign for a coach. He wasn't so hell-bent on y'all going to run it my way that he tanked the team. Right. You understand? He adjusted as a head coach. I always say I don't like the fact that people say, hey, Jalen Hurts me. I've been watching Jalen Hurts since the Elite 11. The Elite 11 is a competition that's amongst some of the top high school quarterbacks in this country. I watched them at Alabama, and I watched them go through a phase where they brought in another quarterback, and after winning a national title, he was a national title winning quarterback. They brought in another quarterback, and talented as he was talented, the other quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. He plays for the Miami Dolphins now. But they benched Jalen. And then Tua got hurt chasing a national title. He got hurt in the national title game. And guess what Nick Saban had to do? To go over and put his arm around Jalen Hurts and say, hey, bro, I need you. And Jalen Hurts stepped into the game and won the game for them. And then he left that year. He left there and he went to Oklahoma. And he became, even though Oklahoma didn't get to compete for a title, he showed that he is a gamer. And that, I think people that question this young man haven't been watching him his whole career. Jalen Hurts is the truth. But this is his year to prove that. Unfortunately, this is the NFL that we're in right now. Because if you don't prove it, we got 2 first-round picks next year. So, and they surrounded you with talent now. You got a Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver on this side. You got a young stud stalwart wide receiver on that side. You got a hell of a tight end in Dallas Goedert. You got a B+ offensive line, and you have a serviceable running back. And now you have a defense that's going to set you up and get you the ball in certain positions, short fields and everything. You got to do something.
Yes.
You got to do something. Because as much as I like you, Jalen, if you don't do anything, next year your replacement is coming in. Look what they did to Baker Mayfield. Look what they did to Baker Mayfield with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson had 22 alleged sexual assault charges against him. And the Baker Mayfield sucked so bad. They said, "Look, we willing to give him. Look, we gonna take him. We'll take him off your hands." But he got 22 civil suits. It don't matter. Here's what they did. They said, "We're gonna pay you $230 million guaranteed money. So whatever you get charged, if you lose a civil suit, you got to pay some bread out. You got enough to pay.
You got enough to pay it."
But they did that other than stick with Baker Mayfield.
That's crazy.
Well, you had your shot.
I mean, I'm saying it's like crazy, like, yeah.
He had his shot. The Cleveland Browns are a loaded team. Now, I'll say last season he was hurt. So, but he had his chance to, because see, Baker Mayfield's biggest problem was his mouth. And he has this attitude like, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he came into the league with that, which is good as a rookie because it shows you're not intimidated. You understand? But when that attitude don't match your talent,
that's a whole nother thing.
When you come in with like, I'm the greatest since sliced bread, and you haven't proven anything at the NFL level yet, other teams, listen, the NFL is a grown man job.
Yeah, for sure.
This is how a lot of grown men eat. You can't come in talking about what you going to do and this, that, and the other thing, and don't back it up. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you come in talking that trash and you don't back it up, the spotlight is bright on you. Now he on all you see Baker Mayfield on commercials and he doing all kind of things. Bro, you put yourself in that position. Like the young guy who fought. There was a guy fight Saturday night. It was Javante Tank Davis against Rolly Romero. Now this young guy, Rolly Romero, he's pretty good. He's only had 14 fights, 12 of them by knockouts. And Javante Davis is like a 3-division world champion. He kept telling Devon, "I knock your punk ass out, and you a pussy, and you this." They went back and forth at it, and he telling everybody on the media, "I'm gonna knock him out in one round. He trash. He a pussy. He ain't nothing. He ain't this." Now I ain't gonna say this. The young boy had been knocking people out. Rolly Romero knocking people out. Well, he got in there. He got in there with Javante Tank Davis and got caught with a left. And was out in the 6th round. Out on rubber legs. He was doing a funky chicken. You feel me? So it's like, you can't talk and don't back it up. Like, you can have confidence, but you can't be talking a lot of trash and you don't back up what you say. So now you sitting here in the ultimate shame. You was the number 1 pick of the franchise. You was a starting quarterback. They done brought another starting quarterback in who don't even know if he going to play because he may get an NFL suspension. He may get about 6 game suspension, maybe 8. But the organization is saying we would rather have that than you.
Well, now, that's like bad. That's
well. Once again, you talk the good game.
Yeah.
You talk the good game. The NFL stands for not for long. You understand what I'm saying? That's what the NFL, they don't stand for the National Football League. It stands for if you ain't good, if you ain't shit, you ain't going to be, not for long, you going to be here. You feel me? And so that's what it's hitting for. I love you, Jalen, but remember those, what NFL stand for. If you don't go out there and produce, especially in Philadelphia, we will turn on you quick.
Yeah, they sure will.
Donovan McNabb took us to 5 NFC Championship games, and they turned on Donovan quick.
Quick, yeah.
Quick.
Well, that's Philly for you.
You feel me? So, on that note, listen, I want everyone to know that anything that was said or how we just doing regular men sports debating. Nothing I say is personal. It's just about sports. I don't attack your family, your character, none of that. Everything that we debate
Keeping it
about
civil. Yeah, this is grown people stuff.
is just about sports.
Yeah, it's
So
grown people stuff.
once again, the show is called Rob Knows. If you think you know more about sports or anything, than I do, you're more than willing to come and give me your analysis, right? But I'm gonna tell y'all something Mike Tyson said. I dare you come challenge me with your somewhat permanent skills. You're as good as that. So
leave your comments if you will. Leave your comments if you will.
Yes,
But before we
sir.
go, this is, a little bit more on a somber note. I would like to dedicate this podcast episode to the family of those who were slain in the Buffalo shooting, and also the Texas. I can't think of no other word but to say massacre. Of all of those babies at Rob Elementary and the teacher. And it's so crazy. Talking about being heartbroken. Her husband, a couple days later, died of a heart attack. Grief stricken. It's real. So we would like for you guys to just, send your prayers and, to the families of the Buffalo victims and the Texas victims of these shootings. And yeah, we just have to remember to love everyone, even if you might not like them. Just send them love and light energy, and continue to keep everyone covered in prayer. If you believe in God, that's all I could say. But we would definitely I would like to dedicate this episode of the podcast to those people. Um, Rob, you have anything to say?
Mm-mm. You said it
Okay.
all.
Yes.
Said it all.
Um, and on that note, we will bid you a farewell until next time.
Cue the music.
Diesel on the beat.